Have you ever asked your significant other to be honest? Did you regret that decision? Did it end in divorce or breakup? Have you been burned by honesty? Is there anything good about transparency? What would you do if you had the opportunity to ask questions of a manufacturer? Like if you took the time to really think about some questions that you wanted answered. Questions that just, I don't know, popped up in your head and you were like, hey, I would really like an answer to this, dude. Like you really wanted honesty and transparency and they gave you the opportunity to ask? Whoa, slow down, Trigger. Having a manufacturer be honest? Wow, really? That's crazy talk, yo. Well, be surprised. I got the opportunity to ask Celestron and got even more than I bargained for. Honest, truth, admission of fault, commitment to make things better. Now, if only I had a relationship like that. What's the deal with that whole center glass thing anyway? Oh, shit, I turned. This was human error. Yeah, like totally. Apparently there was some miscommunication at the factory concerning how securely that optical window was supposed to be installed. Celestron has a policy that all first production runs go through the Torrance facility to be inspected. This happened with the 8-inch RASA. And they checked collimation and took images on the axis as well in each corner. However, self-admittedly, they did not initially check the windows. Once they found out there was an issue though, they got with their plan and immediately made the changes. But they also responded with, needless to say, it is definitely part of the inspection process now, and we haven't run into any issues with users not being able to remove the windows. As far as my bitch about the comment that they made to Chris to go buy a spanner wrench, well, their perspective from a technical service aspect was to ask customers, pertaining to the stuck window problem of course, that if they had a spanner, it was to help facilitate the removal and was to expedite the process so you didn't have to send your mount back to Celestron. So perhaps in that instance, it wasn't conveyed very well. So, who knows. Celestron also responded with, we offer to provide replacements to anyone who damaged the window during the process. This option is still on the table for anyone who needs a window that was damaged in this process. What did Celestron find wrong with the mirrors that were twisted and how did they address that? Ooh. Meat's on sale. You know the old adage, never buy a first production run of something? First runs always require some fine-tuning and adjustment over time, and things are learned as it occurs. Learning curves, basically. That's all we're talking about. So, like, when I was 10 and had a hell of a time learning cursive, it's kind of like that. And honestly, I still can't write for shit. A few units likely needed a stricter criteria of tolerances while being built, and unfortunately, a few got by. So, you know, we're the ones who got them. Now, Celestron told me that the tolerances in general are extremely tight when it comes to the RASA 8 in order to meet the F2 light cone. But again, a few needed a little bit more than the others, and those slipped past. Celestron also said, both the factory procedures and the assembly QA process had been fine-tuned to make sure all scope meet Celestron's high standards. Thank God. What improvements were made to the Celestron Focuser? Celestron's engineering said that no changes were made other than the housing change to fit the 9 1/4 Edge HD and some small modifications to the mounting bezels. Basically, threaded holes for additional focus motor mounting positioning based on user choice. However, they did modify the instructions, which I shot the revised video on. This was driven based on user experience. Clarifying and expanding the installation instructions has proved to be extremely helpful in getting consistent results. I totally agree with that comment for sure. Though honestly, it is quieter. So maybe the housing change? I don't know. Is Celestron on planning releasing any OEM filters for the RASA? Celestron is entertaining this idea, but it will be gauged on demand, and Celestron is asking for feedback from the public on this specific matter. Also, there are a few hurdles involved to optimize the filter for F2 imaging, so it might take a little bit of time. However, they have said that the housing will accept 2-inch filter glass. So basically, those that are more technically inclined can swap out the clear filter window glass with another filter glass. I assume this would be involved removing the housing, and I'll try to get a video together on this as soon as I figure it out. Should be important to note, however, Celestron wouldn't be able to warrant any related damage, but if users are careful, they shouldn't have any issues with this. So obviously, you're on your own if you commit. Personally, I would love to see a factory HA03 filter used here in this specific application because it would eliminate the need for filter drawers for one-shot color users. What's the build an optical window anyway? There is some discussion on this particular issue, and I'm going to give it straight from the horse's mouth. Not that anyone is a horse out of Celestron. It's just a saying. Here's what we recommend on the optical window, and it should be covered in the manual as well. Leave the optical window in place when using a DSLR or a mirrorless camera with no windows of their own. The only time you would remove the filter here would be to swap it for an LPS or any future filter. If the camera does not use an optical window, then the only time to remove the optical window would be when a filter is used. Remove the optical window when using a ZWO CMOS or other CCD camera that has its own optical window. Especially do this if a filter slider is used with an additional filter. This is less for back focus spacing than for correcting star images towards the edges of the field and providing best optical performance. Yay! We clear now?
What filter does Celestron recommend with the RASA? Ow! Nipples!
Again, Celestron will consider making more filters for the RASA 8, but would be based on demand and volume. So your feedback is needed here. There is a likelihood they will develop more options, but depends on sales of the existing LPF and the call for more filters. As far as using filters from other manufacturers not optimized for F2, expect reduction of transmission at the critical wavelengths. Basically, expect slightly longer exposures. But what other options do you have? Celestron Engineering said, for a 12 nanometer FWHM filter, there should be no loss in transmission at the critical wavelengths, but the FWHM bandpass is not optimal for narrowband imaging either, i.e., there will be some loss of contrast. Now, the way I see it, you are not limited to just buying F2 rated filters now. My wallet thanks you.
How do you collimate the RASA with the cameras in place?
Celestron said they use an ASI T24 camera with spacers to get proper back focus, along with 3-point and 2.0 Allen wrenches to collimate. You're going to need a spacer and short Allen wrenches. But get this! We are working on a spacer ring kit and also planning to include short arm hex keys with the RASA 8 and 11 in the future. For customers who've already purchased a RASA 8 11 that need these Allen wrenches, they can reach out to our technical support team and we will send them the Allen wrenches at no charge. Are you freaking kidding me? They're going to do that? Damn. Respect, yo. Respect.
I wonder why mirror locks were never installed on the 8-inch RASA. Why is that?
Yeah, so this is one of my gripes on one of the RASA 8 videos I did, not having a 10-to-1 focuser. So the focus assembly is different on a RASA 8, and the Celestron engineers found that it did not need focus locks. Now, how this actually works, I didn't get the information on, but for my own use, I can attest that there is no mirror flop when imaging through the Meridian. They did not use the 10-to-1 focuser knob because it would be incompatible with the focus motor. Celestron went on to say, it was found that customers with the RASA 11 were requesting the original knob, hence a retrofit kit, to allow them to use the Celestron motor. So honestly, though I never had an issue using a Bahtinov mask, it really is nice to have an automatic focuser. Yeah, so the one thing that Celestron really wanted to convey here was to reinforce that it is critical to achieve proper back focus spacing for the best performance at the edge of large sensors, like APS-C sensors. Really? That was it? So I gotta admit, I didn't think I was gonna get back what I did. I openly commend Celestron for being transparent and think it says absolute volumes to their commitment to be better involved with their customers. Not only conveying information, but actually asking back for some. That's just ridiculous, right? To me, this means they actually want my business and don't expect my business. I mean, it's nice if a manufacturer just doesn't assume you're gonna come to them directly for everything. But to be clear, Celestron did not buy my time, and there is a clear understanding from both sides that I will always be open and honest on their products and any other manufacturers for that instance. Now, if only we could get other manufacturers to be as open.